2024 Planning Commission Study Session meeting for the town of St. John. Start with pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, take the roll call, please.
Joe Gomez-Daigle.
Here.
Pete Clideris is not here. John Gill.
Here.
Bob Valois.
Here.
Angela Mendez. Justin Nestor.
Here.
Attorney Adam Decker.
Here.
Engineer John Dykstra.
Here.
And Town Manager Bill Manasopoulos.
Here. Item 3, old and new business. Item A, 2021-06 Gray Stone Unit 3, Block 2.
Good evening, Jack Slater with Schilling Development, representing the developers of Greystone. Unit 3, Block 2 is the second to the last phase that we completed last year, and we were able to get the surface asphalt on before winter. We went through a punch list of items with the town to remedy, and then I believe the town engineer has done some inspections out there, so we're ready to move this section from performance to maintenance.
Any questions? Comments? Is this what, this would have to be on the agenda for the next meeting as far as voting to move it forward?
Yes, yeah, since this is a study session, no decisions are made tonight, just discussion and updates, but we do have 2 letters from Robinson showing a favorable recommendation to release the performance letter of credit and to also accept the maintenance cash escrow that we have on file.
Thank you.
Okay.
Item B, 2024-01, the St. John Business Park.
Yep, and Jack Slater with Schilling Development. I'm also joined by James Huss from DVG, the lead engineer on this project. The St. John Business Park, I have been here a number of times before. We talked about it at the last meeting. This is a 55-acre site, I'm sorry, that's zoned industrial. We are proposing a 25-lot business park. These will be 1-acre plus lots, and they meet all of the requirements for the industrial zone. We've been working back and forth with Robinson Engineering on the review of the engineering, and a couple of review letters back and forth, but I think we're down to the nitty-gritty at this point. A couple of items left, but generally most of the stuff has been satisfied. We are ready to go to a public hearing at the next meeting in 2 weeks. So we are prepared to advertise and send out the public notices for the public hearing in 2 weeks.
Questions, comments?
Just a comment, if I may, Mr. President. One of the, well, the only waiver I believe you're going to be asking for is a 40-foot front yard instead of 60.
30, yes.
30, okay.
We have designed it with a 30-foot front yard setback instead of the 60-foot is required in industrial zone. If you recall, the original industrial zoning required 10-acre lots, and that's probably where the 60-foot setback came in, where if you had a 10-acre lot, you would be required a 60-foot setback. We did get the variance to go from 10-acre lots to 1-acre lots, and so we would like to have a 30-foot front yard setback.
Okay.
Questions? Okay. We'll be back in 2 weeks for a public hearing.
Thank you. Item C, 2024-02 Suncrest Christian Church.
Sure. So I had a conversation yesterday with Attorney Viz, who is representing Suncrest regarding the rezone. They are not going to be holding the public hearing for the rezone on the 21st as we initially thought. They kind of want to wait and see how things go tonight at the BZA meeting with the special exception. So that is, they are not here to present any updates on the rezone because they're waiting to see how the BZA goes.
And they'll let us know when they want to come back.
I'm sorry?
They'll let us know when they want to come back.
Yes, yeah.
Right. Item D, the Grove.
Good evening, Kevin Pasco here with Chip Cruz Mark of Old Homes, 8051 Woodbury Avenue, St. John, Indiana. I'm here tonight to unveil our newest project in St. John, we're calling Grove.
Sorry, I'm just wanting to make sure your microphone is on.
It is not.
Thank you.
We always look forward to new projects in every community that we do business in, so we're very pleased to be here to begin the journey on this project. Jenna, could you bring up the PowerPoint? Then go on to the next slide. So the site's composed of 5 parcels totaling about 169 acres, which are currently used as farmland. Just for a little bit more geographic context, it's located just south of 93rd Avenue in the Walden Clearing subdivision, east of the Renaissance subdivision, north of 101st Avenue and the Gates of St. John, and west of Blaine Street and the Grouse Point subdivision. I should note that there is a very small single parcel right at the intersection of where Park Place and 101st Avenue meet, which we do not own. So while it might be tough to see on some of the images, that parcel is not part of this project at this time. Next slide.
Hold on. We have 193 acres, and you just said 163 acres.
169 acres?
93, it says.
190.
Oh, sorry.
Which one is true?
169. That's what I've got on our concept plan. That's my mistake. So the parcels, which are outlined in blue on this slide, are currently zoned OS, open space, as are the adjacent parcels to the east, which are also still farmland. Surrounding the remainder of the area are parcel zone P, public building, as well as R1, R2, and R2 PUD, single-family residential. Next slide. Now, according to the comprehensive plan, this eastern area of the town is projected to transition into residential use. So as I mentioned, single-family almost entirely surrounds the parcels, so it'd be logical that this property would eventually change uses from open space or agriculture to residential, since that's the overwhelming trend in this area. So along with the projected zoning and the growth, the comprehensive plan also states several goals that the town wishes to achieve with new development. So among those are to increase diversity of the housing stock, meet the needs of an aging population, and to have a balance of options to reflect the demographics of the town. So all those points seem to share a common goal in that the town seems to want to have wide appeal to the public and all age and economic demographics for residential development. And we propose to offer a project that aims to satisfy that criteria. Next slide. So we're proposing 3 different product types, comprising 91 single-family detached lots at 70, 75, and 80 foot wide by 130 foot deep, which will have our more traditional single-family product on it, more geared towards families who have kids, want more room to spread out. We have 87 single-family detached villa lots at 60 foot wide by 130 foot deep, which will have our smaller slab-style product that's geared more towards single parents, empty nesters, looking to downsize, first-time homeowners. And finally, 71 single-family attached lots, or 142 total units, at 90 foot wide by 130 foot deep, which will have our paired cottage product that's also a slab style and geared towards the same demographics as the villa product. Realistically, anyone of any demographic can move into any of our products, but I just want to give an idea of who our sales and marketing department usually encounter with those product types elsewhere in our Lake and Porter County projects. So this plan has a total of 320 units on it with an average of 1.9 dwelling units per acre. Next slide. So we've also identified several key characteristics we're aiming to meet with this development, and those are to provide a variety of housing products in a projected residential growth area, preserve ample open space with unique amenities offered to the subdivision, and to expand the sidewalk and trail connectivity throughout not only this development but beyond it. Next slide. So along with those characteristics, we also believe that many aspects of the proposed site fit in with the goals from the comprehensive plan that I listed. So those include having a new residential development in an area of projected residential growth, providing multiple product types, so with 2 types of single-family detached and 1 type of single-family attached housing products, offering a wider variety than straight R1 or R2 zoning might allow, and really creating the opportunity for something unique. We think projects like this have a much wider appeal than only providing 1 product type. Not that those types of products or developments aren't needed and successful in the town, as well as elsewhere in Lake County, but having multiple products definitely expands the pool of prospective residents who may want to live in St. John. So between that and the size of the parcels we're dealing with here, we believe it's best to pursue more of a diversified approach with this project and to not just have 1 product type throughout the entire development. We also believe strongly in the potential to have a subdivision that can have generational appeal, with perhaps grandparents living in the paired cottage or villa section, and then their kids and grandkids living in a single-family home. And of course, they would all be within walking distance of each other. Next slide. So now shifting gears a little bit to the open space and the amenities. So there's quite a large part of the northern parcel which has wetland, floodplain, and floodway, and then it transitions into Beaver Dam Ditch on the west side of the property. And in fact, the total amount of open space on this plan is right around 50% due to these existing features. So all those will largely be left undisturbed, if not entirely left undisturbed, and it's actually informed how our current layout looks. So I should also mention that we have completed a wetland delineation for the entire area and are awaiting a JD concurrence from the Army Corps of Engineers. We're expecting a response on that sometime in the spring. We're not proposing any development on that northernmost section. Then we have the detention ponds as a buffer between the wetland before transitioning into our slab-style products, kind of more in the center of the property, with the traditional single-family lots on the southern third. This was intentional kind of for drainage and how the water course of the land is, so we didn't want to have it where we had basement products on the northern portion, so that's where we're proposing slab products, and then as you get more south, that's where we have products with basements in it. So besides the area in the north, as far as amenities go, we're proposing a full sidewalk network with connectivity to Grouse Point and the Gates of St. John, along with the new trail system within the subdivision with new connection points for future expansion. There's also park space located west of the ditch in that southwest corner, and an area in the southeast corner, which must be left open due to that pipeline easement. And all open space in the park space not dedicated to the town will be owned and maintained by the HOA. Next slide. So moving on to the park and open space, just a little bit more in depth. For the proposed walking trail, it'll be an 8-foot walking path, which winds its way from just north of those detention ponds, and then follows the ditch line south to 101st Avenue, then runs along 101st, kind of near the rear yards of the southernmost lots, ultimately ending in a stub for the adjacent parcels to the east for future connections. We know that Lake Central School Corporation owns the parcels to the east, so it could make for a very convenient connection point sometime in the future. The length of the path is approximately 1.5 miles right now, and again will be owned and maintained by the HOA. So that, combined with the sidewalk network, will offer several miles of available pathway for residents. Next slide. We're also proposing one large park area in the southwest corner, which at the moment is not fully planned out at this point, although we had very preliminary discussions last year about a potential Veterans Memorial Park and a trailhead, although we're open to other suggestions for alternate amenity features as well. I should also point out that there's other park spaces within close proximity to this area as well. So chiefly there's Gates Park to south on Park Place, and then Founders Park just to the southwest on Parish Avenue. So those are also parks that residents can visit, and certainly with the improvements that are proposed for Gates Park, that'll surely become more appealing as time goes on. Next slide. So looking a bit more closely at the Veterans Park area, we have an extension of the walking path leading to this area as a bit of an offshoot of the main path, and it leads to a cul-de-sac where there is a handful of parking spaces. In the memorial area itself, we have a monument of some sort shown with diverse landscaping to give it kind of a more unique or pleasing appearance. I've included some examples of a smaller scale memorial area that could be pursued, but again, this is extremely early in our conceptual phase. So while we do have an opportunity here for a public-private partnership, we'd really prefer to have discussions with staff on whether or not this is even something that the town wishes to have there. Again, when we first met with staff last summer, we heard the town was sort of in the neighborhood looking to do something like this, so we decided to take a stab at that. And if there isn't any interest, that's also perfectly fine. We can always repurpose this area to have other amenities, more traditional amenities. Next slide. And then moving just a bit further south to that trailhead area, we're proposing some sort of a landmark or monument to denote that the Veterans Park is nearby, along with a pavilion with some seating and landscaping in the vicinity as well. We do also have a bridge shown here crossing the ditch, and we're well aware that we'll have to go through full IDEM permitting and approvals for that to happen. As with everything else in the open areas, we're open to suggestions on other features that you'd maybe like to see if anyone has something specific in mind. And then this will also be owned and maintained by the HOA. Next slide. And last but not least, we've got the landscape buffers, which are shown along the northeastern frontage where the future Klein Avenue is shown, and the area that fronts onto 101st and the entrance to the subdivision. I would really like to have these to create separation between those rear yards and roads or pathways for privacy reasons. And these would be comprised of standard turf grass with a variety of shrubs for heavier coverage. And again, this will also be maintained by the HOA. The next slide. So additionally, I'd just like to mention some miscellaneous comments that we received from a staff meeting on January 17th to hear all the department's initial comments on this plan. And so I'll go ahead and detail some of those. So we do obviously understand that the preferred entrance to the subdivision would be off of Park Place. However, as I mentioned, there's a property owner who just does not want to budge on selling their property at all. So we've instead put a T intersection just north of that property for when and if we are able to purchase that parcel, and then we will install another entrance there, and that would become our primary entrance, and the entrance that's currently shown on this concept would be our secondary entrance. Instead we have that section through the utility easement, as well as a stub road connection on the north with 96th Place in Grouse Point. We're also well aware that well site is possible in that southwestern corner of the property based on a fracture trace analysis that we've received. As we mentioned to you, Bob, in our staff meeting, we're more than happy to let the town onto the property to test for the well whenever you're ready, preferably before the crops go in, so maybe in the next couple months.
While we're on that, can we get
Yep.
something in writing just stating that it's okay for us to encroach the property and
Yes.
drill a test well?
Yep, certainly.
Thank you.
And then depending on those results, it may impact the area down there if we do decide to go ahead with a well site. So we're planning to install XLD cell lane at the entrance for traffic flow purposes, and we'll also install aluminum light poles for the street lights, since that's the current and preferred standard from staff. In the northwest corner, it was suggested that we add a water main extension to the paired cottage area. So I looked into the final plat for Renaissance Unit 3, and there is a detention, drainage, and public utility easement in that adjacent outlot. So it appears that at this time feasible to run that water main onto our property without any issue, but obviously the engineering phase will ultimately confirm that when we get that far. There's also a 30-inch sanitary main and a 12-inch water main that runs along 101st Avenue that we could easily tap into. On the northeastern border, we're going to dedicate the full right-of-way for the Klein Avenue extension. That project's in its very preliminary stages at the moment, but it is coming, so we'll go ahead and provide that for when the time comes. And something else that's sprung up relatively recently is the potential use of residential TIF for the project, so the town can capture more tax dollars over the course of the development of the project. We're not sure if the town's open to exploring that option, but we're certainly willing to meet with staff to discuss, if the town wishes to go that route. So with that, I'll thank you for your time, and again, we look forward to working with the town on another new development project. So myself or Chip would be glad to take any questions or comments that you have.
The bike trails, they will be paved?
I guess we haven't necessarily talked about that yet, but I know we've kind of got back and forth with having either aggregate trails or paved, so I'll have to take that back and get you an answer to that.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item E, Calistoga. Jack.
Good evening, Jack Slager with Schilling Development again. Jenna, if you would pull up my PowerPoint also. I wanted to take about 4 minutes of your time just to talk about Schilling Development for some of the new Plan Commission members and maybe what makes us a little different. So let me just run through the slides. Next slide. Yep. So Schilling Development, we've been actually developing land since the 1890s. You will know some of our developments here in town, a lot of them in St. John, Shilton Hills, Lewis Estates, Weston Ridge, Rosewood, Cardinal Cove, Wellington. We're currently working in Cedar Lake as well as St. John. We have Oak Brook, Lakeside, and Beacon Point under development in Cedar Lake, as well as the Preserve, Greystone, and the Continental in St. John. Next slide. One of the things that we pride ourselves in is our entrances. We set our neighborhoods apart with well-designed entrances that make a bold and dramatic statement while remaining welcoming, attractive, and functional. In addition to signage, lighting, landscaping, we make sure that they are properly designed in terms of turn lanes in and out, decel, accel lanes, 2 lanes coming in, 2 lanes going out so that there's proper access for the residents in and out. Next slide. For us, we are not a builder. We're strictly a developer, so we work with multiple different builders. That gives us the ability to have unique architecture, many different styles. We have standards that we set for high architectural and landscaping requirements, including the use of different quality building materials and varied colors and textures. Next slide. As far as the site planning for our sites, we utilize creative designs. We study the land as we begin the designs, looking for natural features that we can preserve, topography that we can work with on the site, and coming up with some unique designs rather than a standard grid pattern. Next slide. Obviously, the areas you're familiar with in and around St. John that we've developed, quite a few sites, and we have more coming. We own additional parcels in and around St. John that we will be developing over the next few years. Next slide. Striving for sustainability. So a lot of our sites are farmland, flat, open, fairly nondescript, but some of them do have some environmental sites, some ponds, some wetlands, some trees. When we do have those on our properties, we try to work around them, enhance them, use them to beautify the lots. Next slide. So property owners associations, we make sure that we set up a well-funded association with all of our developments. This helps to maintain the common areas, the entrances, and a lot of the land around the development. Helps to take that burden off of the town in terms of things like mowing the right-of-ways. If you could vision like the preserve along White Oak, the town used to have to mow the edge of White Oak. Now we do it. The association maintains all those areas, as well as the park area, any other common areas, detention areas, entrances, and we make sure that those are strong and well-funded. Next slide. We set up in all of our developments a set of restrictive covenants. Again, since we are not the builder, we want to manage the expectations of the homeowners that buy in our developments. We set the restrictions high and we enforce them. For every builder that wants to come in and build in our development, we review his set of plans. We fill out a form for an architectural review, and we work with the town building department to make sure that all of the plans are reviewed before they go to permit stage at the town. And so we have that added step in the building process. And I think that's it. Oh, effective marketing. So on our sites, we also, we have a marketing department that puts together brochures, signage, billboards, websites, print ads, and helps to bring new residents to the developments. Next slide. That's it. Okay. So thank you for indulging me in that. Just wanted to give you a little background of things that set us apart. Now, as far as the next two items on your agenda, we have two similar projects that we are presenting again tonight. We presented both of these at least 4 times last year between July and October. We met with the Plan Commission, worked back and forth, took feedback, made changes. And I wanted to bring these before you tonight because there are some new members of the Plan Commission. And so I wanted to see if there was any new input. Both of these projects, that the next two, Calistoga and Stone Creek, will require annexation. And we plan to include these layouts as part of our annexation with a PUD zoning that's required. Similar to what you just heard from Kevin at Althoff, our research and experience have shown us that a development with a mix of housing products is more successful and more appealing to a larger demographic. Both of these developments offer a similar mix of products. And again, the town's comprehensive plan calls for a mix of products on large development sites like this. So in addition to single-family lots, we are proposing maintenance-free homes. Again, these will have high architectural standards and high landscape standards. There is a high demand for this type of product in St. John. Current residents, singles and seniors, are moving out of town because of a lack of this type of product, the maintenance-free. The buyers of these units also have less impact on the schools and the local traffic. Both of our projects are adjacent to existing and growing commercial areas, and people want to be able to walk and bike to the various businesses. And again, all of these developments will have a strong HOA to maintain the common areas. So on Calistoga specifically, this site is 173 acres. It sits and fronts on US 231 along the north, across from the gates, and lying directly east of Mill Creek. We have buffered the residential. We are showing some commercial properties along 231 in the front, and we have buffered those to the residential with a berm and a walking path. The commercial lots will be fed off of a frontage road and a shared, we'll have some shared right in and right out access to 231. Based on your new corridors plan and your thoroughfare plan, we will not be showing any direct access or full access points out of those commercial onto 231. This site provides 221 80-foot wide traditional single-family lots. Those would be the orange on the south end. The maintenance-free section, which is the, I guess you'll call that yellow or tan, that started out as 60-foot lots, and as we work through the process with the Plan Commission, those have all been revised to 70-foot wide lots. And then the far upper right would be the section of 90-foot wide paired villa lots. This will all provide for an additional variety of products, and all of them will have minimum side yards of 8 feet or more. We have provided some through streets that will stub roads and utilities to undeveloped farmland lying west and south of this project. We also have added a central park in the center of the site and a paved walking path that will connect back to Park Place and the walking trail system that is in Mill Creek. There's now a total of 363 units on 173 acres for a density of 2.1 units per acre, which is comparable to many of the single-family developments in town. This site will require PUD zoning, which will become a part of the annexation agreement. Again, we would welcome residential TIF if the town decides to explore that. It could help pay for upgrades or road improvements in and around the area, so we're open to that, but that's completely up to the town. So on that particular site, if there's any feedback or questions, I'd be glad to answer it at this time.
So thanks. Then item F, Stone Creek.
Yep. So we can move to Stone Creek, very similar. This is a 173-acre site that lies on the west side of Parish Avenue across from the gates. The property backs up to the railroad and runs all the way up to the high power lines. We show extensive landscaping buffer along Parish that will include a berm and a paved path all along Parish. We have continued the path under the high-tension lines and back along the railroad tracks. One of the things with that path we've talked about at some of the other meetings, you've got the Founders Park just north of here, and you do have the Gates Park to the east, which also lies under the same or near the same set of high-tension lines. I believe that the development that you guys approved last year for Diamond Peak, which would be across the street from this, also had a trail system running under the wires or along the pipeline. So I could see a nice trail system forming kind of east-west here that either follows the pipeline or the high wires that would ultimately get you all the way to Gates Park. So we're starting the formation of a nice pathway system. And those are all 10-foot paved paths. This is similar to what we did in Preserve. We will use the two entrances that were already installed a number of years ago when Parrish was widened by the town. And we have stubbed roads to the north for future Three Springs connection and to the south into the undeveloped land at the corner of Parrish and 231. We have designated a section in the southwest corner for 100-foot wide lots. There are 43 of them. Then we have a section in the middle that would be traditional 80-foot lots. Again, 70-foot wide, single-family maintenance-free in that area, and then a section of 90-foot wide print villas. There's a total of 346 units on 173 acres for a density of 2.0 units per acre. Again, open to residential TIF. I know we've said that on all of our projects. Both of the projects that we just talked about will be phased with development over a 6 to 10 year period. Again, because we're not the builder, we really don't blow through these things very fast. We work with small to medium-sized builders. And so we're looking at a 6 to 10 year development period with about a 15-year build-out. We have determined that this is the highest and best use for both of these parcels based on surrounding areas and nearby developments. And we will begin the annexation process next, which will take us in front of the town council. And then once the annexation and zoning is complete, we will be back in front of the plan commission to begin the engineering and plating process. So in the next couple of months, we'll be circling back here again. So I know I went through that pretty fast, but again, any questions? Some of you have seen this a number of times, so old news.
Has there been any more discussion about the sprinkler systems in the open areas? About perhaps?
We like them. I know you would like to see maybe a source of
Drawn out of
either a
pond
well or out of the pond. Yeah.
Yeah, well, not a well, but yeah, a pond.
Yeah, we will explore that as we get into the engineering. I think that's a definite possibility, at least for the common areas, not for the residences.
Common, right.
Yep.
I understand.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.